Called perfect for the same reason as an interval of a perfect fourth, the ratio of the vibrational frequency of an interval of a perfect fifth is 3 to 2. This means that an interval of a perfect fifth above any given note vibrates at a frequency of 1.5 times more than the original note. In other words, if a note vibrates at a frequency of 200 Hz, or 200 cycles per second, then an interval of a perfect fifth above that note would vibrate at a frequency of 300 cycles per second. An interval of a perfect fifth occurs when two notes are separated by the distance of 7 consecutive half steps. Because 2 half steps equals 1 whole step, 7 consecutive half steps can also be looked at as being comparatively the same as 3 whole steps and 1 half step. Using this pattern of steps, let's see if we can figure out what an interval of a perfect fifth above the note C is. Starting on the note C and going up 1 whole step takes us to the note D. The distance between the note D and the note E is also a whole step. A half step separates the notes E and F. And finally, a whole step above the note F is the note G. Based on this, an interval of a perfect fifth above the note C is the note G. In the previous video, we learned that an interval of a perfect fourth above any given note can also be found on the fourth scale degree of both a corresponding major and minor scale. This applies to an interval of a perfect fifth as well. Looking at the notes of both a C major and C minor scale, we can see that the fifth scale degree in both scales is in fact the note G. When reading an interval of a perfect fifth on the staff, you might notice that both notes will either be on a space, with 2 lines and 1 space between them, or on a line, with 2 spaces and 1 line between them. Memorizing this shape on the staff will make it easier to quickly recognize intervals of a perfect fifth when reading and writing music. A useful tool for identifying an interval of a perfect fifth above any given note is the circle of fifths. With the circle of fifths, each letter progressing in a clockwise direction is an interval of a perfect fifth above the note that preceded it. In other words, we can see here that the letter at the top of the circle is C. We already know that an interval of a perfect fifth above the note C is the note G. If we followed the order of steps which produces an interval of a perfect fifth, we would discover that a perfect fifth above the note G is the note D. An interval of a perfect fifth above the note D is the note A, and so on. In the next video, we are going to learn about intervals of a sixth. We will discover how, similar to intervals of a second and intervals of a third, an interval of a sixth can also be either major or minor.